नमस्ते। अभी तक हम लोगों ने ब्रह्म के बारे में थोड़ा उसका वर्णन पढ़ा उपनिषद में, और अक्सर ये प्रश्न उठता है कि ये क्या भगवान की बात हो रही है। एक्चुअली बात हो रही है, लेकिन ये शब्द ऐसे यूज़ नहीं किया उन्होंने। ये एक और समस्या हुई है ट्रांसलेशंस में। ट्रांसलेशंस में अगर आप देखेंगे मैक्स मुलर का जैसे एग्जाम्पल, तो इट की बात होती है। तो इट से क्या होता है ना, वो बात कन्वे नहीं होती है। जो अगर आप इसको ओरिजिनल जब उपनिषद पढ़ते हैं तो वो इट नहीं आता है, हालांकि वो जेंडर को ट्रांसेंड करता है। पर जेंडर को ट्रांसेंड करना इज नॉट सिनोनिमस विद इट। सो ये जो अंतर है, जब हम मूल उपनिषद को पढ़ते हैं, उनका जो वर्णन है, विल जस्ट रीड इट। इस उपनिषद में बड़ा सुंदर एक डिस्क्रिप्शन है जगह जगह पर, तो वो आता है। बट एट द सेम टाइम जब हम उसको इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करते हैं तो श्री अरविंद इस बात को स्पष्ट करते हैं। वो कहते हैं कि इट इज़ मच बेटर टू यूज़ द वर्ड गॉड, नथिंग रॉन्ग विद इट, अगर आप ट्रांसलेट करें, क्योंकि इट इज़ जो सेंस है इंग्लिश वर्ड में जो गॉड का, वही उसी की बात यहाँ पर की जा रही है। तो कौन है जो, अब इसको पहले हम लोग थोड़ा सा ऐसे समझ लें कि मटेरियल साइंस भी इतना मानती है कि एक ही सोर्स होगा। ये तो लॉजिक कॉमन सेंस जैसे भी कह ले, इस सृष्टि के हमारे 2, 3, 4 मल्टीपल सोर्सेज नहीं हो सकते हैं, एक ही सोर्स होगा। क्वेश्चन है कि वो सोर्स कॉन्शियस है कि नहीं है। अब अगर वो कॉन्शियस नहीं है, अपने ओरिजिन में वो सोर्स कॉन्शियस नहीं है, तो कॉन्शियसनेस फिर इमर्ज कैसे कर रही है, कहाँ से आ रही है। तो श्री अरविंद कहते हैं कि कोई भी चीज़ जो आ रही है इवोल्यूशन में, वो कहीं ना कहीं अपने सोर्स में इनहेरेंट है। वो थी उसके अंदर, छिपी हुई थी, जो स्पष्ट नहीं आ रही थी। तो कॉन्शियसनेस, चेतना, ज्ञान, तप शक्ति, ये सब उसके अंदर है। तो जो ओरिजिन है वो केवल एक मैकेनिकल ओरिजिन नहीं है कि जो अपने आप ये संसार चलता चला जा रहा है। ये भी एक प्रकार की एक थॉट है, फिलॉसफी है जिसको देखते हैं लोग, लेकिन वो कॉन्शियस है। तो जैसे हम कहते हैं कि कॉन्शियस है और एग्जिस्टेंस है, सत्य भी है और सचेतन भी है, तो बाय डेफिनेशन इट बिकम्स ए बीइंग। बीइंग एक हार्ड मास का पुतला वो नहीं होता है। बीइंग होता है जो कॉन्शियस है, हु ही इज और हु शी इज, और अपने आप के प्रति एक सेंस ऑफ सेल्फ रहता है। सेल्फ फूड वो कहाँ से आता है? इससे थोड़ी आता है कि मैं, ये शरीर है तो मैं हूँ, शरीर बदलता रहता है। इसको हम कई लेवल पे इस चीज़ को देख सकते हैं, बट आई एम जस्ट कंप्रेसिंग दैट होल थिंग टू कम स्ट्रेट टू द उपनिषद। बीइंग हु इज कॉन्शियस ऑफ हिमसेल्फ बाय हिमसेल्फ। कोई और उसको बताने के लिए नहीं आ रहा है कि आप हो, तो दैट बिकम्स बाय इट्स वेरी नेचर ए बीइंग, जो एग्जिस्टेंस, जो कॉन्शियस है अपने बारे में। सो दैट बिकम्स अ बीइंग, एग्जिस्ट करता है और कॉन्शियस है फुल्ली, तो दैट बिकम्स ए बीइंग। अब वो कौन है? सच्चिदानंद है। ये हम लोगों ने मॉर्निंग के सेशन में देखा। इसका एक और हमको इनडायरेक्ट प्रमाण मिलता है। इनडायरेक्ट प्रमाण कैसे मिलता है? अगर कोई हमसे पूछे कि डू यू एग्जिस्ट, तो हमको लगेगा कि हम कहेंगे उसको, भाई देखो साइकेट्रिस्ट का एड्रेस दे देता हूँ, अपना इलाज करा लो। तो अब ये डू आई एग्जिस्ट, इज इट बेस्ड ऑन माई आधार कार्ड, इज इट बेस्ड ऑन माई आइडेंटिटी कार्ड? नन ऑफ दीज। इवन लॉजिकली किसी के पास कुछ नहीं है ये बताने को कि उसका जन्म भी हुआ था, कब हुआ था, कहाँ हुआ था, पर एग्जिस्ट तो करता है। वो भी जानता है एग्जिस्ट करता है, आपको ही पता है वो एग्जिस्ट करता है। सो एग्जिस्टेंस इज इंडिपेंडेंट ऑफ द नेम्स एंड फॉर्म्स। ये भी बड़ी स्पष्ट चीज है। अगर मेरा नाम कुछ और होता तो ये थोड़ी कि मैं एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता हूं। मेरे कितने भी नाम हो सकते थे, बट आई एग्जिस्ट। हाउ डू आई नो आई एग्जिस्ट? वेल, देर इज नो अदर वे एक्सेप्ट दैट आई नो दैट आई एग्जिस्ट। इट इज एज सिंपल एज दैट। तो एग्जिस्टेंस अपने आप में स्व प्रमाण है उसका। वो सचेतन है, वो जानता है अपने आप को, तो एग्जिस्ट करता है। और कॉन्शियस है कि मैं एग्जिस्ट करता हूं, तो वो बीइंग हो गया। अब ये हो गई यहां से बीइंग, जिसको गॉड कहा जाता है। लेकिन जो हमने ये देखा कि वो जो बीइंग है, जो सनातन धर्म में है, उसमें और गॉड एज हम लोग सेमिटिक थॉट में दिलते हैं, उसमें एक डिफरेंस है. जो वहाँ का गॉड है वो कहीं ऊपर बैठा है, यहाँ पर हम बेचारे भटक रहे हैं. पर हमारा जो कंसेप्शन है डिवाइन बीइंग का, वो घट घट का वासी है, वो यूनिवर्सल भी है, इंडिविजुअल भी है, और उसको ट्रांसेंड भी करता है. और उसमें अगेन हम देखते हैं कि हर किसी की एग्जिस्टेंस, हर किसी के अंदर लिमिटेड एग्जिस्टेंस है, लिमिटेड नॉलेज है, लिमिटेड पावर है, शक्ति है, और लिमिटेड जॉय है. यही 3 या 4 चीजें सारी सृष्टि में है. सच्चिदानंद. और चूंकि लिमिटेड है, लेकिन अंदर में क्या है, अनलिमिटेड इन्फिनिट, वो फाइनाइट बन गया है. तो ललक क्या रहती है, हम भी अपनी अनंतता को प्राप्त करें. अब देखिए उसी मेटाफिजिक्स से योग निकलता है. चूंकि हम डीप इनसाइड देयर इज समथिंग विच नोज इट इज इन्फिनिट, बट आउटसाइड इट इज द सेंस ऑफ फाइनाइट, सेपरेटनेस, लिमिटेशन. Now what happens? Spontaneously, this finite wants to once again create the infinite, recover the infinite. Let's put it like that, that there is a father who has 5 children, and one of them does not know what my inheritance is. Suddenly he comes to know that, oh, my father, he had lot of jewels and gems, somewhere they are there. So he wants to find that jewels and gem. Now, as long as he didn't know, it is a different thing. But here, deep inside, there is always this sense of infinity. So we struggle. Why are we never satisfied? Because we are seeking for the infinite. How do we try to get infinite? This, that, this person also, that wealth also, this house also, this car also. This is what the Upanishad says is a wrong way. Because you can never do it. You can never. But some people are driven by this excessive ambition to be the infinite through these means. Nature has created another way, and that is the phenomena of death. जहाँ हम लोगों ने, which we heard in the previous session. How does death recreate infinite? It's like every time we die, while we are living a life, there is a finite experience. What is the finite experience? Let's say, पहले होता था गांव में जन्मे, गांव में, you are born in a village, you die in a village. But you have heard about moon landings, you have heard about America, you have heard about Russia. Somewhere you feel, what that place is like, I don't know. You hear this, that. Now when you die, you take another experience in another land. You get another line of it is very unfortunate that an Indian need not necessarily be born as in this Punya Bhumi. It is unfortunate. One has to pray. One has to really, it is a blessing, a boon to be born in India. But otherwise, it's not, we take it for granted. Who knows? Tomorrow somebody is born in Middle East. So these varied experiences, let us believe that when we have taken birth in this Punya Bhumi, we have gone through all that. So when you come to this stage where you have by and large within you, and what is that essence of experience? What do we gather? Not the details. So this is what Pravahana's dialogue with Svet Ketu and his guru. So for example, if we go to, let's say, some country, we go to America or we go to Middle East, and then somebody asks, what is it like? So we describe at great length when we have gone in the beginning. After many years, you are asked, what is it like? It's okay, bit comfort of life, that's it. Because you have gathered the essence. Similarly, we see in one life also how we gather the essence of things. So how we gather the essence of things when somebody is struggling, 15, 16, one has a heartbreak, one feels world is going to crash, life is not worth living. What do parents say? They say, बच्चे होता है, हम भी गुजरे हैं इससे. We have also gone through it. You will get over. The child cannot understand How you can get over? World has collapsed. But when you are 40, you laugh at it. Oh, yes, yes, I understand. You can even make fun of yourself. Good, I didn't get into it. So, what have you gathered? The essence. What is that essence? Essence always, interestingly, is delight. Even when you have passed through, let us say, Middle East, you have gone through that horror and you are caught in a war zone and you don't know whether what will happen. You are, trying everything, and when you escape, at the end of it, when you describe, do you describe, oh my God, you say, what a joy. We escaped finally. You experience that whole experience. Essence is delight. So, what is it in us that gathers the whole experience of a whole journey? Katha Upanishad is about that. It says the eater of the honey. It describes in very interesting terms. Eater of the honey. So, it is that which turns all things into honey, into delight. And this delight makes us grow as we go from life to life. Avidya mrityum tirtva. So see, Upanishads are like that. They are just given a landscape. Look at Kanchanjunga. Now, up to you. How much you probe, how much you enjoy that. Katha Upanishad will say, eater of the honey, which is deep inside the heart, seated in the heart. That you are seeking. But as I said, it also gives a path. So Katha Upanishad, just to take an example, very interesting. It's again a story. Story is that Vajrashravas is doing a yagya, and in that yagya he is giving, as is the custom, cows and this and that to different. So his son Nachiketa, he is observing, 9-year-old boy. He is seeing that his father is not doing the right thing. See, all children even that time. So when children challenge the parents, that means they are really good. They are wanting to be honest and sincere. So he asks his father, Father, why are you giving all the cows which have run out of milk, which have grown old? You are giving them, is it really a sacrifice? Whom are you fooling? I mean, doesn't say that many words, but today's children would say that. Whom are you fooling? So the father gets angry. He said, keep quiet. Again he asks, keep quiet. Third time he says, Father, whom are you giving me? Now he's a brash boy. Father says, go to death. And इसको कहते हैं दिल पे ले लिया बच्चे ने. He takes it to his heart. He starts fasting, doesn't eat, because that's the only way he knows that he can go to death. So third day, Yama comes. He says, I have never seen anybody waiting for me. You are waiting for me. Why? He says, my father has commanded me. Now, in all earnestness, I have to go to you because my father has given me to you. So Yama says, I have done a grave error. You were calling me and I have come. I have made you wait for 3 days. What do you want? So he says, then Yama proposes, you have waited for 3 days, ask for 3 boons. So he asks for boons. At the end of the boon, first boon is, my father should not be angry with me. Very sweet. So he says, okay, granted. What else you want? Then he asks something very interesting. He says, some say that there is life after death. Some say that death is the end of things. You are the most qualified person I know who can tell me, is there something after death or is there not something after death? So Yama tells him, don't ask such questions. See, even gods don't know it. Interesting, even gods don't know it. Gods don't have that thing which goes from cycle to cycle. This evolutionary aspect is only in human beings. Gods don't know. They are static on their own plane. They watch the play. They act, they intervene, but they don't understand the play. So here is this child, and Yama says, see, don't ask me this question. I'll do one thing. I'll give you a lot of horses and cattle and this and that and kingdom and wives and Fala, Dhimka, all those things. So Nachiketa is a brilliant boy, intelligent boy. He says, you are giving me today. Will you not take them? After some time, he says, that I will. He says, so I don't want them. Now, why I am narrating this story a little in detail, because I have heard people actually misquote this story. To say, see, Upanishadon mein bhi kya hai? This boy is asking for cattle and cows and wives. So what's the big deal? On the contrary, he refuses them. When you refuse them, then you become the adhikari to have this gyan. He has asked for the gyan, the highest knowledge, but is he really ready? So Yama says, okay, you have chosen wisely. So it gives a little practice, Shreyas and Preyas. In my personal life, I have found it is such a wonderful practical advice. Whenever confronted with the choice, one is Preyas, what you want to do. It's a desire, you like it. It's pleasant. The other is Shreyas, what is good for you, what is good for everybody, what is really a choice which will help you progress. So he says, you have chosen Shreyas, therefore you are ready for this kind of knowledge. And then he says, I'll give you this knowledge, but in addition, I'm giving you something. He gives him a garland with many, it's a garland with many gems. So that garland is nature. A person who seeks the highest knowledge and finds the highest automatically gets all else added. So we don't have to. Some people say, oh, how will you deal with life practically? You will get, because there are, not only that, there are subtle faculties which awaken. Because the divine gives those things. You begin to be moved by a higher impulsion and a higher wisdom which shows exactly what should be done, when it should be done, why it should be done, the way it should be done. All this kind of knowledge begins to awaken. In the Vedic rishis use significant terms for these powers and faculties, which awaken in a yogi. But you can't, if you practice, I want these powers, it doesn't work. You want the divine, it works. But again, you can't want the divine saying, okay, that is the way to get these powers. Okay. Because you can't fool him. So then he describes to Nachiketa how to find the divine is seated in the heart. He speaks about as Aditi. You seek the divine mother in the heart, you will find. He also speaks about the Angusht Matra Purusha, the psychic being. He says you can't find it by any amount of intellectualization. You can't find. Na yamatma na medhana vahuna shrutin. Then also he says that if you are a weak person, you can't bear it. Na yamatma balhinena. You have to be strong. It's not about becoming sentimentally seeking. Emotions are different. Sentiments are different. He says you cannot find. Because he is so effulgent that even the sun is a darkness. How can I describe him on whose table heroes and sages are food, and I, death, am a spice in his banquet? Now, in the morning we spoke about the substitution doctrine. Everything is a food of the divine. It is going into him. And it is coming back from him into this creation, the Vishwarup Darshan. This is the fundamental truth. And so when we have this vision or this experience or this revelation, what does it mean when we apply it in life? Very simply. It means that whenever somebody gives a gift to you, where is it coming from? It is coming from the divine. I think today morning somebody had that experience. No, something came. Anyway, when you give something to someone, know that you are giving it to the divine in that person. And Sri Aurobindo speaks about this practice in the Synthesis of Yoga. He says, even if the person rejects, what have you got? I don't need it. But the divine has received it. So you progress. How beautiful this is. So much of all these practices came from these great teachings. See, just imagine this one word. If in adolescence somebody could teach us, you will have a choice. How do you choose? There is on one side Shreyas, on the other side Preyas. And you have the example of Nachiketa who chose like that. And then this is, if right from childhood children grow in that kind of atmosphere, that culture, rather than the Western, way of life where you only have the Dehatma Bodh. So there is another story about that also. It's about Indra and Virochan, and they both go to Prajapati, who is their father. So he says that, tell us about the self, and he says, what do you see in my eye? What do you see in the ocean? Know that as the self. So Virochan says, he sees his own physical reflection. And he says, okay, now I know, I am the self, means the body. So Indra says, but how can, body is always changing. Self is supposed to be unchanging. So he goes back and says, something is missing. So he says, good, you have come back. So he again gives him. Like that he goes till he finally discovers the self. The unchanging within the changing. Nityo Nityanam. So there are many practices. There is one particular practice which is so beautiful, I find. Just it gives an image. Upanishad gives an image. How to concentrate. So we are taught many ways. Concentrate here, concentrate there, etc., etc. Upanishad gives an image as an arrow shot in its target. Brahman is the target. Shoot the arrow of concentration. Now why they have used the image of arrow? So when an arrow is shot in the target, for some time if you notice, the hind part of the arrow quivers for a while, when with great intensity. Then after some time it becomes less, it is stuck. So same thing with the practice of concentration. For some time the surface nature will do. He'll dole. But if you remain concentrated, then after some time it falls quiet. As an arrow shot to its target. Many such things come up in the Upanishad. They describe. So here there is another, how these people, these great rishis, our grand forefathers, how they were seeking. It's very inspiring. So we have, many of us have heard about it. Hiranmayena Patrina. This is, of course, Ishupanishad. Hiranmayena Patrina Satyasyapi hitam mukham Tattvam Bhushanna Pavrano Satya Dharmaye Drishtaye. So the seer is already living in the light of that consciousness. But he is not happy only with the light, he wants the source. It's so interesting. There is another story like that. Balaki, who goes to Ajatashatru and says, he is very proud that, oh, I have already arrived at that light, I am living in that light. So Ajatashatru has understood that he thinks, because he has been a sannyasi, he knows, and Ajatashatru is a king. So he goes there trying to impress the king. But those were the days when kings were yogis. So Ajatashatru says, tell me, what do you meditate upon? He says, I meditate upon the sun. He says, I also meditate upon the sun, but I meditate upon the essence of the sun. So when you see that essence of the sun, which is brilliance, which is found everywhere, then the sun is not just the physical sun, but brilliance in the mind. It can be several places, that one intelligence which is operating. Again he asks, what do you meditate upon? He says, I meditate upon the Vayu. Then he says, I too meditate upon Vayu, but on the essence of the Vayu. So through these dialogues, through these means, they differentiate between the manifestation of the divine, which one discovers, begin to discover as one ascends. Of course, all this is also manifestation of the divine, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the source itself. So there is a difference between the source of light and the light, effulgence. So he says, I want that. Remove your brilliant lid. I have raised the brilliant lid. I feel the rays. I feel the wisdom springing up within me. But I want to go further. And then see how he describes the divine. O fosterer. Now, is it mother or father? Is it man or female? Woman. Fosterer. O soul seer. O ordiner, who arranges things. O illumining sun. O power of the Father of creatures, marshal thy rays, draw together thy light, the luster which is thy most blessed form of all, that in thee I behold. The Purusha there and there, he am I. So this is the same story of Ajatsatru, but brought out very powerfully. That I want that truth which is everywhere, shines in everything. He is wanting that truth. He is seeking that truth. So we have that famous mantra of the Upanishad. We spoke about it. Soham asmi. And it ends by again aspiring to Agni, that show me the path. Why Agni? O God Agni, Agni Naya Supataraye, Asman Vishwani Deva, Vayunani Vidwan. O God Agni, knowing all things that are manifested, lead us by the good path to the felicity, remove from us the devious attraction of sin. To thee, completest speech of submission we would dispose. That I surrender myself. Agni is, it is the fire of aspiration, it is the divine will, the divine energy which is there inside us. And it says, I want to be moved by you. I don't want to be moved by my desires. On one side, there are these things which give me pleasure and pain. On the other side, there is felicity. So you know the right path. Show me the right path. I want to go by the right path. And for that I surrender myself to you. So they had already made a path through which one can reach the divine, when civilization was not even awake in most parts of the world. So this is how they described he without sinews, that is also described, who has gone abroad. So, he describes that one being as both impersonal and personal. Now all this is very fine, wonderful, and there are several descriptions. The problem is कि ये क्या है? Now this is where the whole slippery slope starts of Vedanta. So this is fine, there is a source, the divine, and that divine is all conscious, all beautiful, all blissful, all knowing, all. And what is this world? We don't see that in this world. We don't see that pure being here. We see its opposite. We don't experience that state of felicity. We experience pleasure and pain. We don't see that Shivam, eternal good. We see good and evil, intertwined, interlocked. We have to make choices. Why this? What is this? Now here came another interesting conception. Not conception, but again, they were all born of experiences, which we can touch upon now. It is about Maya. Suddenly there came to explain all this Maya. So with Maya we have all different ideas in our head. Maya, badi thagani. There's not a very good way to, it is just cheating you. It's like deceiving you. How it is deceiving? There is only one, but it makes you feel there are many. But the Upanishad has said this was the original will. Eko ham bahushyam. He wants to become many. So why now we are saying that, it is cheating us? And from there, Indian thought and life took a very different turn. It was not in the days of original Vedanta Upanishad, when people got the meaning right. Later on, Maya became equivalent to Madam, Miss. So, after that, it was cheat, deception. So a yogi must cut himself off. So see, this whole thing came because the Purusha element became very prominent. But who is Maya? We can understand in different ways. First of all, the word comes from Ma. The root is that which measures. So we use the word matra. Now we don't, it's such a lovely word. I think old-timer doctors used to give. Itna matra. They used to give pink mixture, green mixture, matra. Matra. I mean measure out. It is the same mixture, but you are measuring out. So Maya, Mata. What does Mata do? Very interestingly. She against the two who have come together with their own conceptions, ideas, everything. She has brought out of her a being measured out in a body and name, all the dreams and all the conceptions, all the wishes, aspirations of two people who have come together. She measures out. So, Maya makes parcelings of the infinite. She gives the sense of finite. That is also okay, as long as I remember that, well, I am infinite. So there is Vidyamai Maya. Vidya is one. It knows there is one. It's like Mama and Papa know that all children are Maya, our children. They will deal differently with each. They will say, Jada is very naughty. So their dealing will be different. Probably they will give more attention to that fellow. And this fellow, he is studious, he does everything right. That's why those who expect that the divine should deal with everybody in the same way are committing a serious error. He does not. He should not. His dealings are based on an inner logic, which we don't understand. Sri Aurobindo uses the word logic of the infinite. Bali could not understand why Ram has shot an arrow through my heart and made Sugriv his friend. Nor do Dhritarashtra and Gandhari understand. Krishna, you could have stopped the war. Why you sat on the side of the Pandavas? Why Arjun is your favorite? See, from here we begin to understand slowly the problem of action. If all is one, all is oneness, what does it matter whether I do or not do? So the problem is not to be or not to be. That is solved by Brahman. Yes, to be. But to do or not to do. Paralysis of action. So Vidyamai Maya knows the one. At the same time, you have these different parts. It's like the mother who knows that all are my children. What is Avidyamai Maya? Avidyamai Maya is children who faintly remember the mother. After some time, they even quarrel between themselves. They forget that they belong to the same one mother. See, this is the problem even in India we face, no? You have the Hindu-Muslim problem. Why? Because one Vidyamai Maya knows. माँ हमारी यही है. दूसरा बाप मेरा अरेबिया में है. अब वो कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है पूरा. The mind is totally confused. If you understand this is our mother, you have differences, doesn't matter. You have religion, doesn't matter. Nothing matters. But this is your mother. You can't deny your mother. That's why Sri Aurobindo wanted Bande Mataram to become the song. Because Bande Mataram, she is our mother. Neither Muslim nor Christian nor Hindu, Sikh, atheist, agnostic can deny. She is my mother, our mother. But what does Avidyamai do? She puts a spell. Why does she do it? This is also interesting. See, the first layer of creation is when there is beings who are conscious of the infinite. The greatest gods up there. Who are they? The four aspects, Satchidanand, Sat, Brahma, Chit, Vishnu, Tapas, Shiv, Anand, Krishna. So you have these four. So they are aware. They are aware of the infinity and they are aware of their particular aspect they are representing. But then they further take out more and more emanations. As they go into creation, they start forgetting the origin. It's like when children, old time, now we have flights, but I remember when from my village I would go to AFMC Pune to study. When I am going back after holiday, so my mother would make so much, with so much love, puri, aloo, give it, and she is weeping, beta, jaake chithi likh dena. I am waiting, ki kab chale gaadi. I want to meet my friends in AFMC. You see, that's how. Ha, mummy, ha, mummy, ha, mummy. Now, does the mummy ever forget? No. She is counting the days when the holiday will be there next. But I forget. I am with my friends. I don't remember. Suddenly one day, I have to write a letter so that they don't worry. This much I remember. Or when do I remember? When I am in distress. So same logic applies to creation. And why, that also will come in a moment. What the play of Maya. From the divine standpoint, there is never any separation or division, there is oneness. He knows. So those who unite with the one know. But from the point of view of the creation, there is separation, which is a seeming separation. This is different, this is separate. Why this is required? Supposing I went away and I remembered my mama, papa, and every bit I would call. You see, imagine a 18-year-old, 20-year-old calling their papa every second day. Papa, something happened today. This boy talked to me so rudely. Papa, this happened today. So papa is not happy then. Papa say, kya ladka hai? Isn't it? No papa will like. Similarly, daughters, once in a while they call up, Mummy, ye banana hai, nahi samajh aa raha hai, kya karu main? What is the recipe? But if everything they want to always, mummies will always be present, but they will feel, Are, my child has to grow strong. She has to face the world. So what happens? It puts a veil. Why? Because each must develop fully the entire Satchidanand which is within. So when parents make their child over-dependent, then it is ignorance. So same way, the same Vidyamay Maya becomes Avidyamay Maya. What does she do? She put a veil of ignorance. You believe that you are Dr. Alok Pandey, all right. You have forgotten that you are Brahman. Then what happens? Now Dr. Alok Pandey can bring out new possibilities, face the challenges. With facing life, he grows stronger, he grows wiser, he develops new possibilities inside. See, sometimes when children do this, I've had an occasion in Air Force. Suddenly our gaadi was stopped proper and some brash youngsters, so they overtook the military van and stopped because he was not giving way. So I came out. I said, what's your problem? You don't know who I am. I said, I am not interested in, what do you want to say? You don't know who my father is. I said, who is bothered about your father? Tell me who you are. Suddenly the whole thing came down. I said, who is bothered about your father? Who you are. Even outwardly, who are you? Who is your father? I can see your upbringing. But I want to know who you are. So you see, when people don't face the challenge of life, they don't grow. So, because this world is meant to manifest the fullness of divine, Avidyamay Maya also does a beautiful task. We may say whatever we want to, but even within Avidya, there is Vidya which is working. So that is how the Vedas describe. There is the Diti, the dark mother, and there is Aditi. So Diti is divided consciousness, and then there is the undivided infinite consciousness, Aditi, indivisible. Both are required. First the Diti, the Daityas, and all of us start our life as Daityas, Diti. So what do Daityas have? Greed. Why? Because again, Aditi is behind, infinite is behind, so I want more, I want more, I want more. Why? Because I want infinite. So Daityas are always greedy about this, that. They eat like ogre, they conquer, they want everybody to turn to them for everything. They mistranslate the real into false terms. Instead of the fact that the one divine alone is, they say I alone is, and everybody should worship me. And this game continues for some time, till they have reached that point, evolution reaches that point through a cycle of life and death and rebirth, where you are ready for Aditi, because that is tremendous. Then one begins to live. Now we understand Isha Upanishads, that famous thing. Vidyancha vidyancha yastadvedo bhyam saha. Avidyam mrityum tirtva vidyam amritam ashnute. So it is so beautifully described, this entire cosmology, our journey in it, life and death, its meaning, the challenges of life, even every day in practical life one can use it. So sometimes even divine doesn't seem to respond. Doesn't it happen? We have done prayer but nothing is happening. So people make a foolish, inference. Arey, koi divine nahi hai. There is no divine. See, he didn't listen to my prayer. On the contrary, we should say, divine is, and he wants me to grow. So, but he is there behind. Whenever anybody is called in an Arth Bhav, he's there. But he wants you to take the challenge. So we have two aspects of Maya. Vidyamai Maya, where there are many, but each is aware of the one. That is the original gods and the supramental world. Supramental world that Sri Aurobindo speaks about is where the divine Maya, Vidyamai Maya. And you can't go beyond it. Beyond it is merger. That's why Shri Krishna says, this is my Maya. You can't slay Maya, you can slay Moha. Moha comes out of Avidyamai. So then when we understand this principle that there is these two layers of Maya operating, and this is brought out in several ways. In Ramayana, for instance, before in Panchavati, before Ravan has to come, there is a very nice interchange, conversation between Rama and Sita. And Rama says the time has come for your veiling yourself. So she gives herself to Agni and becomes a Chaya, which is the ego self. Even it comes in stories of creation. Surya, Sangya, Chaya and Yama is come out of that. So Sita is now Chaya, and it's sign that she has deliberately put on the garment of Avidyamai Maya is that she doubts Lakshman. This is not Sita. Isn't it? When he refuses to go, he says, I know your intentions are not very good. Rama is in distress. Lakshman says he cannot be. Nobody on earth or heaven can ever touch him. Rama is, unslayable. No one can win over. I know my brother very well. She says, no, I have heard a distress cry. Lakshman. Who is Marichi has played the trick. First, the Mrig behind which Swarn Mrig, which is non-existent. So that is how Avidyamai Maya. But why she has become this aspect? Because she wants to convert Ravan. Why? Because even they are revolted children. If she is in her splendor, Ravan cannot come near. You don't need Lakshman Rekha. She is divine mother. Ravan dare not come near. So he comes near, he seems to fool her, take her, falls in love with her, but does not know what love is. He gives him a chance. But time to time we see Vidyamai Maya coming out when she puts that thin. At the end, according to one of the version of Ramayana, it is Sita who slays Ravan finally in her Kali form. So this is the play of knowledge and ignorance constantly happening in human life. It starts with total ignorance. What is ignorance? Not knowing the one is ignorance. I may have all the knowledge of the world. Like Hiranyakashipu, I may have my contacts of all the hospitals on my phone. I may know the best doctor who can advise me on corona. I may have taken all the 3 doses of vaccine. But this is Hiranyakashipu's gospel. Avidyamai. By all these conditions, if I can master, I will conquer death. But death finds its way. Vidyamai is when Takshak is destined to bite Parikshit. And Parikshit is also doing the same thing. Everybody is advising. So the rishis tell him, why are you doing all this? Why don't you get rid of the fear of death? He says, how? I don't know. He said, listen to Bhagavad. So Bhagavad is told to him and he gets over the fear of death. Then finally when the garland comes in which Takshak is there, he says, I know you. I embrace you. I know this is destined in the secret providence of things. So this is the difference of playing a role consciously and being unconsciously caught in the game. When we know the play, we must play well. Now the question comes, play well means what? How do I know what I am supposed to do? When the mind is more and more quietened, when the vital is more and more purified of desires, when the heart is no more hankering after this result or that result, no more preferences, then the urge of the Vidyamai Maya, the impulsion, no more the promptings of the Avidyamai Maya, that arises within. And we act according to that. Now, this was the whole dynamics on which Indian civilization was built. So what does it lead us ultimately to? Are Maya and Brahman two? No. They are one. Again, we can take another example. Several poises. I am sitting, nothing, no activity, no thought, no feeling. That is Purusha. When the Shakti is absorbed inside, next I feel the urge. Something is, maybe I have to write something, urge. Who has given the urge? It is within me, that Shakti, that power has woken up. That's why when we see the Rig Veda, 10th Mandala, that's how that. In that whom none can say who he is or what he is, even the gods do not know. Na Sadhya Sutra, that in vaccine war, they showed up. Suddenly there is an urge, a desire. They use the word desire. Takes hold of him. What is the desire? He wanted to become many. So that urge takes over. So this is the first step of creation. But this urge is undifferentiated. Something I have to do. I don't know what. Many people go through that stage. They say, I want to do something, I don't know what. Pragya. Then it comes, okay, some things begin to form in thoughts, in feelings. That is Hiranya Garbha. It is the womb in which things have entered. And then finally it manifests. So that poise of me when nothing is there, that is the non-being, the Par-Brahman. That when the urge has awakened, then what does the urge do? Brings out of this fellow who was just sitting, suddenly the urge to create. There is a direction, there is a purpose, there is a sense which awakens. And that becomes Satchidanand. He's same, but brought forward. Satchidanand leans towards creation. Why? Because impelled by the Divine Mother. Divine Mother brings out Satchidanand from Par-Brahman. Mystery about which nothing can be said. And then we have Satchidanand, because now he has to connect with the creation. And then the creation starts. So he brings out of himself omnipotence, omniscience, supermind, the four great gods who are the four great aspects. And then they go further and further. And at some point, it lapses into complete ignorance and with a purpose, as we have seen. And it becomes extreme. The lapse is so much that there is a complete forgetfulness. It's there in Shiv Purana also. Even Shiva lapses into that state, void of Shakti. And Mother Parvati, she starts right from she does not know. So these are all stories through which they have communicated. There is a complete lapse of consciousness into inconscience. Now, why this is important? Because it's not just metaphysics. It's got a practical implication. We'll come to that. From there now creation begins, step by step. So how is it relevant to me? It is relevant to me that when we are walking on the road, if you have to walk forward, you have to do two things. You have to lift the step from what is behind, leave it. I won't use the word let go. Leave it, put it in front. Then you go still further. The same thing applies to our own life journey. See, this is what it means, dharma, which is constantly unfold. Wheel of dharma. Is it regarded as a wheel, no? What is at the center of the wheel? It doesn't move, one unmoving. And yet it is the center around which all the spokes are moving. Wheel is moving in a certain direction. So when I act, I must know that whether by my action, my own journey, and the journey of all who are connected with me, and the larger journey of humanity, is it going towards a forward march or is it going towards a backward march? That is what Shri Krishna puts as Lok Sangraharth. If my actions are leading it backward towards a retrograde movement, that backward movement may have had its validity. Like I am here today, but maybe sometime back my feet were there. It had its meaning as steps of the journey, but now it has lost its meaning. So dharma is ever unfolding. Dharma kshetre, kuru kshetre, samaveta yuyutsava. See, all this is interconnected. This is single warp and woof that Indian thought has given us to navigate through life. Dharma in Indian thought is not about rituals and something fixed do's and don'ts. We knew that these do's and don'ts it themselves evolve as we move forward. So for each one, we can't make a universal way of living life. That's why dharma is so vyapak. For everything there is a dharma. That's a story in Upanishad with regard to this. It's of Ushasti. Yeah, I'll just one moment have to. So Ushasti, he's a sage, but he's running short of, he doesn't have money, he doesn't know what to do. So one day he goes out, he's very hungry, the whole family is hungry. So he goes and asks for something. So the man gives him seeds, bean seeds, something to eat. He gives him a portion. He takes it, Ushasti takes it. And then he gives him water. He says, no, I don't need to take it. He says, why? He says, see, I'm hungry, I need food, and you have given me. Water I can find anywhere. Now look at the story. He comes back. When he comes to home, that time his wife has already managed to get something to eat. And they eat together. Next day, he says, I am very hungry. I need to eat because I want to go to the king. And maybe he will understand my wisdom and give me work, and then our life will become better. So again, it seems very strange. He is asking her, give me those beans that you have saved last night. But why? Because he knows that his going is important. He needs to be, for his body, he needs that time, that nourishment. And it happens. He goes there, he points out where the mantras are defective and people are reciting them without knowing the deities, and the king takes him. It's the story of Ushasti Chakrayan. So imagine, and as the story goes, he's going to a very lowly person. So he doesn't care that time. He says, right now I need to eat. I need to bring food for the family. But water I won't take because water I can find anywhere. So these subtleties of what dharma is, it's not a fixed yardstick, not a fixed set of do's and don'ts, but it evolves. But the goal of dharma is very clear. The goal of dharma is the forward march towards the grand disclosure of the one divine. This is the important element to be kept in mind. And for that, each one has to discover within oneself. If a particular action is leading towards the divine according to the urge within me, I am not doing it out of any personal preferences, out of ambition, out of trying to please somebody, and it's arising within me as a deep inspiration, I should do it. But I have to see clearly, is it because I don't want to displease someone? Is it because if I do it, I will be better, my ambition will be satisfied? Then you have to keep it away. So this is how Indian culture had woven the fabric of our life, which we have now lost thanks to Harvard and JNU. Sorry. Yeah, it is so silly arguments that you keep listening and you just don't know. These people are so silly. Harvard University, they had put about Shivlingam and the birth of Garuda. What kind of interpretation they had done? Wendy Doniger. So I had to write, what nonsensical things you are saying. First of all, you are saying many things which are not even there in the mythology. You are picking up a mythology, interpreting it. They are not even there. Why you are twisting facts? And then you have your own fantastic explanation which shows the depravity of your mind, not of the Indian thought. So I'll take this question which you had.
You were talking about this in the Sadhya Sukta. So the Sadhya Sukta is very interesting because it has this kind of agnostic.
Shashi, that is how Shashi Tharoor has interpreted. I mean, that's how it is interpreted. Yes, that's.
wording है,
हाँ वो
उसमें there is this idea that he, he knows or he knows not.
exactly. So whom he is referring to?
Questioning kind of.
Exactly. So the Nasadiya Sutra is interpreted like that, either agnosticism or and as you rightly said. But what really he is saying? He is describing a state. That's why I gave that example. I am sitting. There is no urge inside me. So you ask me, sir, क्या हो रहा है, क्या करने वाले हो कुछ? I don't know. It doesn't mean I don't exist. See, this is the problem of Nasadiya Sutra. It cannot conceive the explanation. It cannot conceive existence which exists in its own delight or self-being. The consciousness is absorbed within. The same problem comes with Purusha and Prakriti. So, consciousness is absorbed within. That's how the Purusha experiences. But what happens next? The gods are also not there. That's how it goes. So even the gods do not know. Whether he knows or not, we do not know. Why? Because that knowledge, that power which is within him as consciousness has not yet impelled him, or that, or it, or call it whatever. So it is that impulsion from which creation begins. But it is interpreted, I know, generally as we don't know, and it leaves us in a. So what Nasadiya Sutra is basically saying, there is an unknowable, even if we take it like that, which the mind cannot know, which is logical. If the mind can know it, it is something inferior to mind. This one part. So that also we have seen, one unmoving, all kinds of paradoxes. So mind cannot know it. Gods cannot know it. Does he know? Who knows? Whether he knows it or he knows it not. This is how it ends. It closes on a question mark. It doesn't give an answer because it wants to be perfect. Because these rishis went beyond the sense of Sat. As I said, Sachidanand is a luminous shadow. Beyond it, there is something of which nothing can be said. So that's why, that what we call as the being, there is the non-being. That's how they went beyond. But if we read the totality of the scripture, the unknowable can be known, but he can be known only by becoming one with the unknowable. You can become one, and that's how it is described in one of the Upanishads. He says at the end, ha ha, ho ho. You can't say anything about it. It is so profound a mystery. So, unknowable cannot be known by the mind. So, Indra could not know. Whom does he see? Not the eternal, but Uma Himvati, Divine Mother. She can tell us. She can take us there, or that unknowable can reveal itself by its own grace. No effort, no amount of tapasya, we can lay a claim on him. Even gods would not know it. But we can know by a identification. That's why you see the same thought comes in Isha Upanishad, not Isha, Kena Upanishad. Avigyatam vijanata, vigyatam avijanata. If you read it, it's very paradoxical. He who has the thought of it knows it not. So basically they are pointers. They are not mental, rigid structure. They are pointers. That be careful what you are approaching. You enter into that and you know it not. But that's where the distinction comes, and Sri Aurobindo makes it very clear. When you know it from the porch, you have got a glimpse. It is true that if you enter, you cannot come back to say. It doesn't mean that does not exist. It does not mean there is no, we can say there is no God the way we conceive God, because all conceptions fall away from there. But there is that tremendous origin which is in everyone and everything. And there is one step we take and then we cannot come back. So that's why that Purna Samadhi, and those who are drawn towards it or have a natural inclination, they will go in that direction. But the way it is interpreted, we don't know whether God exists or not. That's not what it is trying to say.
So are you saying that the supramental level which Sri Aurobindo talks about is that point where you are not going to now step further?
Yes, you can either step into the undifferentiated unity, or you can. So that's where the Isha Upanishad is hinting. That's why he says it is the. And thanks for that question. That's why he says Isha Upanishad is the basis of the life divine. What does it say? Vidyancha avidyancha yast dvedo bhyam saha. Stand on the borders where you draw and express. If you take one step, then you enter into a greater darkness. Why darkness? Because well in front of it, everything is dark. All world has collapsed, vanished. This is the experience that some people have. Suddenly it is called as in the Western Christian mysticism, it was known as, it is a kind of darkness which falls when you are just nearing the divine. Why? Because all props, all conceptions, all systems, everything collapses. You hang by nothing but the thread of faith, if one has that. So that's how it is described in different ways. Dark night of the soul, I was hesitating because that Pilgrim's Progress, that indicates something else also. I was hesitating because I was going to say dark night of the soul, but I hesitated. But yes, we go through several such dark nights. But here it is the ultimate. So we have this also in the Navdurgas. So we have Mahakali, which is all. Then Mahagauri. Then Siddhidatri. So there comes a time when everything vanishes. Nothing remains. Nothing with which you can describe. Its most perfect description that at least I have read is in Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 3, Canto 1. The pursuit of the unknowable. Cosmos dissolves, sense of self dissolves. Nothing is there. Who is, Ekame Dvityam, one without a second, but we can't even use that term. So that is the description. So Nasadiya Sutra is one of the ways that the seer is trying to impress upon the mind. He is not saying there is nothing, besides there will be absurdity. There has to be an origin, whatever it is. Logically, the origin cannot be unconscious jad matter. And the Rishi may have said, if jad matter, my mind has grasped it. He is not saying that. So it is interpreted as to justify Gnostic approach that, we don't know, who knows, God is there or not. That's not what it means. Yeah. So,
I
Yeah.
know that mental conceptions can't reach there, but I'm curious to know what you
Yes.
think about, let's say, Sri Ramakrishna's description of the saltwater doll merging.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. He said, in fact. Huh.
May I interrupt? Let us look at the time.
Huh.
There is another session.
Okay. Even okay, this quickly. Yeah. No, we'll have this now. Probably next session we can have question answers because it'll be very nice. So keep the questions ready. It'll open a wide field. So absolutely, this is exactly what it is. You cannot measure it. You will dissolve in it. This is, since you mentioned it, I'll close with this story in Upanishad, where one of the examples the master gives is this. He says to the son, Varuni and Brigu, you bring the salt. He brings the salt. He says, put the salt in water. So he puts it in water. He says, where is it? He says, I don't know. I can't know where it is. So he says, okay, taste the upper portion of the water. He tastes, is the salt in it? He says, yes, it is salty. Taste the middle portion. It is salty. Taste the lower portion. It is salty. So it is there everywhere and yet you don't know where it has gone. So that example of salt doll melting is not actually vanishing. It is becoming one with that. Let's give no name. Okay, so we'll take a break.